Come on, get up. It's your time. Good morning and welcome to Kimberly My Voice and God Winning Mornings. I need you to come on, get up. I can't play this music long. You know I'm learning as I go. Come on, it's time to get up. Good morning, Mandy. Come on, get up. It's time for your blessing. Good morning, good morning. Good morning. Come on, you got to get up. The blessing not going to just come to you in your bed. You got to get up and prepare. Good morning. It's your time for your blessing. It's your time for your blessing. All right. Good morning. I'm going to make this appeal before I even start. If anyone out there is an artist, you a worship leader, you're a singer, and you have an original song, I'm interested. I'm interested in buying into your vision, into your ministry, because I really want to find some music that stimulate God winning morning to get us up and to set the atmosphere. And what I've noticed that the more I play artists, I can't play it so long. And I like music, it talks to your spirit and wakes you up. So if you know someone that is an artist up and coming, or if they have music that they've already produced and they could give me legal rights to actually play it on God Winning Mornings, please hit me up, inbox me. That's something I'm interested in. See, look how God how he does. He keeps stretching you, right? He gets you out here doing something. Now you are an investor. I want to invest in you. I want to invest in you. All right, so that was Mary, Go Get It. That's just the premise of this platform. It is time for you to go get your blessing. No longer can you say, I'm waiting on God. God is saying, I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on you. So this morning, it is not going to be long. I keep saying that. But this morning, our topic is stretch forth your hand. Stretch forth your hand. It's so many ways I could go with this as I'm saying this title. But I'm going to stick to what God gave me specifically for today. But everything you need, you have it. It's right there. It's in your hand. It's in your possession. He's already endowed you with everything you need. The only thing that's missing is your active participation in doing what God has called you to do. So this morning, stretching forth your hand, the reading that I'm going to do is going to be from Luke 6 through 11. Luke 6 to 11. It says, on another Sabbath, he went into the synagogues and was teaching. And a man was there whose right hand was shriveled. The Pharisees and the teachers of the law were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus. So they watched him closely to see if he would heal on the Sabbath. But Jesus knew what they were thinking, and said to the man with the shriveled hand, get up and stand in front of everyone. So he got up and stood there. Then Jesus said to them, I ask you, which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or destroy it? He looked around at all of them. And then he said to the man, stretch out your hand. He did so, and his hand was completely restored. Jesus told him, stretch out your hand. He did so, and his hand was completely restored. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law were furious and began to discuss with one another what they might do to Jesus. I want to read a little bit of another version that was Luke, but I like how Matthew gives a little description. He said to them, this is Matthew in the 12th chapter, I'm reading 11 through 14. He said to them, if any of you have a sheep and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will you not take hold of it and lift it out? How much more valuable is a person than a sheep? Therefore, is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath? Then he said to the man, stretch out your hand. So he stretched it out, and it was completely restored, just as sound as the other. But the Pharisees went out and plotted how they might kill Jesus. So here's the understanding of what God wants me to tell everyone that view this video. Remember, this is a word of prophecy. I explained a little bit yesterday that either it's going to confirm something you already know, or it's going to be a seed that's planted there, that when God needs to water it, to remind you, when someone needs to come and confirm it, it will be there. So today I give you this word. From this interpretation of the Bible, God is coming up against unlawful people in your life. So in the Bible right now, this was Jesus. He was teaching, he was encouraging people, and it was on a Sabbath day. It was on a Sunday. So back in the day, the Sadducees and Pharisees, they said that it was unlawful, meaning that you could not heal. You could not do work. You couldn't labor. You couldn't do any kind of works or acts of work on the Sunday because it was Sabbath. And if you did it, you would get punished. So this was the law. But Jesus came to cast down the law. Jesus came and he tried to reason with the guys like, listen, is it not right to do good on the Sabbath day? I don't care what your law says. This is what I'm establishing. Man makes laws, but Jesus comes to set people free. So how do you apply this? God said that there is some legalism that is having you bound. There is some law that is against what you are trying to do. There is some organization or company that is keeping you from getting what belongs to you because of a rule, because of a regulation, because of a deadline, because you don't have all your paperwork, because you waited too late to file. I hear in the spirit like disability, people that are going for disability or unemployment, people that have something in a court system. Come on, you got to find yours, or you got to keep this so you can have it stored up for your faith. This is a stored treasure. That God said that he is going to fight on your behalf. That the law, he will tear it down. The thing that they said is unlawful, the thing that they say they cannot bypass because this is a rule. Jesus is on his way. And so the funny thing is, even though we want Jesus to always be this magical, we just want him to be magical. Just do it, God. But remember, this God-winning morning platform is always to equip you to do what you have been called to do. So what did he tell the man? First, he told him to stand up. Come on now. This is when you got to have some courage. Can you imagine? Remember, it was unlawful. The Pharisees was already looking at Jesus because they was one to accuse him. They had already had plans to kill him, to destroy him, to hang him, to crucify him. So now this man that knows the law, that lives under the law, is in the tabernacle with his withered hand. He's in there with his infirmity. He's in there with his bills. He's in there with his wayward children. He's in there with his doctor's report. He's in there with his court reports. And Jesus called him out and say, stand up. Meaning I need you to stand in your authority. I need you not to be ashamed of what you believe I'm going to do for you. I need you to go against man's rules and regulations and say, for God I live and for God I'll die. I need you to see if you got enough faith in me or you have more fear in them. Come on, that's somebody's word right there. Do you have more faith in God or do you have more fear in man in your circumstance? So Jesus said, stand up. So in your situation that you're being unlawfully accused, that you're being unlawfully bypassed, Jesus said, are you willing to stand up? And after he stood up, come on, here come God with another. Here come God with another instruction. Because see, what pleases God is faith. What pleases us is getting our blessing, right? Who he did it. And God said that the only way I'm pleased is by faith. So I will have you do things that you will have to stand in your faith. Thank you, Yvonne. So after the man stood up, can you imagine? He like, oh, I got to get strength to stand up because I really want this healing. How bad do you want it? He stood up. And see, some of us have taken the first step. You might have stood up, but now he's told you to do something else. He says, stretch forth your hand. Come on, what? Wait a minute. You telling me to stretch forth the same hand that is withered, that is shriveled up. If I could stretch forth my hand, I wouldn't even be here. But after he commands your faith to believe and trust in him more than you trust in a situation, he will ask you to do something that you think is impossible to do. So he told the man, stretch forth your hand. And so as the man was contemplating it, I love God. He probably was trying to get it together. You know, God saw that he was in motion trying to get this withered hand out. And Jesus started rebuking. Come on, he got to see you in motion and action. Then he will start rebuking your accusers. He will start casting down the enemies in your life. He will start tearing down and crumbling the walls that have had you bound. He turned to the people. And he was like, wait a minute. Let me set y'all straight. Is it not right to do good? I know what you have proclaimed it to be, but let me tell you what my commandments are. Should I not do good and do evil? So as this man is trying to stretch forth his hand, Jesus is fighting on his behalf. And after he checked them, after he checked the court, after he changed the king's heart and the judgment that's over you, after he went and pierced the heart of the person that needs to come and apologize to you, he came to you and said, stretch forth your hand, for you are healed. I have delivered. I have set you free. I have loosed the chains that once had you bound. But you have to be obedient in this. You have to be obedient in this. It's hard. So when God told me this, that he was going to go in the legal system, this is some good stuff, y'all. Because some people, you got some stuff held up in courts. Some people, you have some stuff held up on someone's desk that all they need to do is sign the release that you get your disability, that you get your grant. And so I thought back to a time when me and my second husband, you know, I got some stories, right? You got to go through life. He allowed you to go through things so you can have a testament of who he is. Don't get upset when troubles come your way. It's just that God wants to show himself strong on you in his behalf in your life. So I remember me and my second husband, we were buying our first home. And we were believing God, right? You know, his credit was messed up, but I heard God say we could have this house. He started working on his credit. I mean, everything was by faith. We didn't even know where to go. But God started having us drive. And I remember I was in the car. I was telling my husband, drive down Halstead. Just keep driving. God said, just keep driving. Okay, turn here. And I remember I was like, I don't know where we're at, but this is where God says our house is. And it was in a city called Homewood. I had never heard of Homewood. Sorry, Southside girl. True to the South Shore area. I had never heard of Homewood back then. And it's been like 20 some years ago. But we followed God this whole path. We went to Homewood, then we started looking up houses in Homewood. We found one, 2734 Virginia Lane. I'll never forget. This was just my testimony. And so we start putting a bid on the house. We start just hearing God and everything he said. And everything was just falling in line. My husband's credit got in line. When we went to see the house, the people was like, oh, you all can never get this, But everything they said, God just kept giving us instructions and directions, right? So that's a testimony for another time. But getting to like the last couple of days, we went there. We did everything God told us to do. But when we went to the closing, we couldn't close. They were like, no, we need an escrow. We need more money in this escrow. And we're like, well, why you didn't tell us this? So we had to come back. We had to go save money. And we were going to go back and get all this situated. Something happened again when we went before the people, and it just didn't go through. Oh, no, we need this sign. It was just little crazy stuff happening, right? And I was getting discouraged because I'm like, Lord, you brought us this far. I mean, he literally brought us through Halstead Street to find Homewood, to getting our credit together. And I'm like, God, I don't understand what is wrong. And so one day I was at one of my girlfriends. She had a conference, like a weekend conference, right? And my husband and I was there, and we fellowshipping. And at the last night, this young lady, I guess she was up there praying. See, we're so jointly connected. She was praying because I guess she had to pay, I think it was Olive Harvey, she had to pay them the balance of the bill. And she too was believing God, and she had not got that balance. So she up there praying, probably travailing like, God, please, Lord, I need this money. You told me to step out on faith, and I'm here. I stepped out on faith. I need this money. And so here I am in the back. Here I am in the back of the Saginaw, waiting to get healed, waiting to get delivered, waiting for my house to come through, waiting for those papers to be released. And I hear God speak. Sometimes it's good to hear God speak, and sometimes you're like, Lord, was that you? I don't know if that was you. I think that's the devil, right? The Lord said, Kim, take $2,000 and go give it to Janine. Is that you, Lord? Is that you, God? God would have you do some things where you like, no, this got to be the devil. So how in the world is this God when the reason my paperwork isn't going through because they want me to have this money for this escrow, and we done stopped and saved this money, and you tell me, what you say? What you say? Go and give $2,000 to Janine. I remember I sat there, I did like my Christian rock. I did a shaking like, no, God, I know this is not you. I cried, I boo-hooed. But guess what? Just like the man in the story, I finally stood up. I would stand up now, but I ain't all the way dressed. But I stood up. And when I stood up, I felt a little encouragement. I felt a little encouraged. You know how your spirit, when you first do something God tell you to do, and I felt a little good. And I started walking, the music was playing. I was walking down the aisle, walking up to Janine. And then all of a sudden, come on, the next commandment, he said, stretch forth your arm. Stretch forth that withered hand, Kim, that you have so closed and tight, because this is my money. I'm about to cry because I feel it. I was like, this is my money. Me and my children need this house. I got 6 children, and my husband's about to bring his 2 children from Atlanta, and we about to have 8 children. I need my 5-bedroom house. God, You telling me to go and give this? So my hand was withered. It was closed. It was clenched. And I had that money right here in my hands like it's mine. But when I got up in front of her, God said, stretch forth your hand. And with all the might and all the power, it was a fight. Because sometimes you got to fight against your own self. You got to fight against your own flesh. You got to tear down your belief and your unbelief. And I stretched forth and I handed her. It felt like everything that I owned. It felt like my hopes, my dreams, my children. How can I be this foolish? Is this that like I drank the juice stuff? You know, I'm sitting here doing some silly, crazy stuff. That's your family, Kim, and you about to give this money away? And I took it, I never forget, I laid it on her lap and I just fell on my face. And I cried to God. I said, Lord God, I did it and I trust you. God, I just remember these moments. I remember the pain, the agony, the faith, the belief. And I gave it to her. I went back to my seat. And of course, I was so scared to tell my husband. I ain't saying this to y'all married women, you know. He understood by and by, but I couldn't. I just had to obey. There are stories in the Bible that talk about the wife that knew something, or, you know, her husband at that time was foolish, so she covered him. So the next, I would say, was about a couple of days later, we had to go to this, our final closing. And I never forget, we went to the table and they were, had all the paperwork and they were about to do this transaction. And one of the lawyers or somebody just didn't come. They just wasn't there. And I'm like, God, what's going on? And so I never forget, we had to leave. They was like, we're going to have to reschedule this, you know, something isn't still in order and they couldn't come. I don't even remember all the semantics of it, but I remember getting back in my car and I shut the door. My husband was putting the key in and he's sitting there talking about something. Well, you know, at least we got the money, and he's talking all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God. Because think about it. This is like the story. When Jesus, after he said, stretch forth your hand, the people still was like, oh, how we going to get him? Come on, the accusers were still there. Even though after Jesus worked the miracle, the accusers were still there. So even though my faith got stretched out, my husband like shutting the door, starting the car, and he's like, well, you know what? At least, you know, we got the money. We know everything in order. So next time it has to be a yes. And I remember sitting there and I'm just like, God, where are you? I did this by faith and I don't understand why I don't have these keys to this house yet. And all of a sudden, can somebody say suddenly? Suddenly, I'm looking out the window. My husband just proud because he know he did his part and it's about to happen. And the realtor, or the man that was in charge of all of the contracting stuff, he came to my window and he knocked on the window. He said, roll down your window. He said, I don't know why I am doing this. This has encouraged my heart. I don't know why I'm doing this, ma'am. But something is telling me to give you these keys. Something is telling me to give you these keys. And so I rolled down the window and I just took the keys in my hands and I was just looking like, what? And he drove off. I was like, oh my God. That same hand, I'm getting it now. I'm getting a revelation 20 years later. That same hand that held the wither and that held the unbelief. It held the money. It held the desperation. It's mine. That same hand, once I released it, he dropped the keys in that hand. It was this hand. And at that moment, the house was mine. Forget about the unlawful stuff. Forget about the papers. Jesus came on my behalf because I stood up and I stretched forth my hand. So I'm asking you today, what thing is held up in the spirit? What's held up in the law? What's held up in the legalism of this world that's trying to stop you from getting everything that God has for you? I'm telling you, Jesus is here. He wants to fight on your behalf. He wants to heal you. He wants to deliver you. He wants to set you free. But you will have to stand up and you will have to stretch forth your hand. It might be stretching forth your hand to make a phone call. It might be stretching forth your hand to lend a hand to someone else. It might be stretching forth your hand to give the money up. It might be stretching forth your hand to release something. But you just got to know, once you look back at this hand, it will be healed. Once you look back at that hand, you will be delivered. Once you look back at that hand, you will be set free. I just thank God we're going to go out right here. Come on, you've been qualified. His mercy is multiplied on you. You cannot be denied of the thing that God has called you to have. It's official. At that moment when he gave me that key in my hand, it was official. That was my house. We went there that day. Go get it. Go get it. Go get your blessing. Go get it. It's your time, Scott. It's your time. All right. As I go out, I'm going to make my appeal that I made earlier. If you know a musical artist, someone that's inspirational, someone that has you must have money, have music, that's willing to share with God winning morning, I am willing to invest. I will stretch forth my hand and invest and endow in this person because I keep getting like bumped off of stuff because I'm playing Mary stuff. So where's that young artist that has some gospel music, some go-get-it music? Please tell them to inbox me. God bless. I just like this song. Let me dance a little bit more. Hey, hey. Okay, I'm going to catch y'all out. God bless. Have a God-winning morning. Have a God-winning day. God bless. Hey, April. Oh, boy. Wait a minute. I haven't logged off Facebook yet. My son is like on me. Hello, April. Thank you, both Aprils, for being here. And also, Yvonne, thank you for chiming in with your great comments. Yes, go get your blessing. Okay, Emmanuel, what do you want? Look at Jesus. Jesus always on my side, talking to me. Where's the spray bottle? Look in my room. All right, God bless you. All have a good day.